your right to know.
It's 6 o'clock. Good evening. Here's the news at 6 on Impact Business Radio, Ibr92.5FM. The headlines. Federal government directs telecommunications operators to bar outgoing calls from unlinked SIM cards. JAMB increases service charge for 2022 mock examination over hike in cost of diesel. European Union donates forensic equipment to Nigeria, orders to strengthen war against insecurity. United Nations faults world leaders for failing to stem climate change, say climate change disaster is inevitable. And the foreign sent Sri Lanka president calls for new government as cabinet resign over fuel scarcity. Now the news and details. I am Bolabo. Moscow. The federal government has ordered telecommunications operators to bar all outgoing calls of all subscriber identification model cards not yet linked with the national identification number effective today. In a statement, the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Issa Patami, said the move is part of the implementation of the NIN SIM linkage policy of the federal government. Patami noted that over 125 million SIM cards have had their NIN submitted for linkage, verification and authentication, while the National Identity Management Commission has issued over 78 million numbers till date. It will be recalled that the federal government had mandated the telecommunications subscribers to link their SIMs with their NINs in December 2020 as part of efforts to strengthen security and social policies. However, Nigerians have faulted the effectiveness of the NIN SIM linkage as kidnappers steal phones, victims' families to demand ransom and go scot-free, untraced with their NINs. 146 of the 362 passengers on the Abuja-Kaduna train are still unreachable. This is according to the Managing Director of Nigerian Railway Corporation. According to him, 51 phone numbers on the manifest are either switched off or unreachable, while 35 phone numbers on the manifest are ringing, but no response from the other end. Okiria also revealed that the number of saved passengers has risen to 186. He affirmed that the corporation will continue to update the general public of developments to prevent misleading information and falsehood. It will be recalled that corporation had suspended train operations along the Abuja-Kaduna route indefinitely. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, says candidates who will be participating in the 2022 mock unified tertiary and matriculation examination will not have to pay the sum of 1,000 naira as a service charge to computer-based test centers where they are assigned to sit for the examination. Speaking today in Abuja, the board's head of media and publicity relations, Fabian Benjamin, said the increased service charge is due to the high cost of diesel in the country. Benjamin also disclosed that the mock examination is optional. The examination was introduced by the board to give candidates the opportunity to familiarize themselves with the CBT environment. It will be recalled that the board had earlier promised to provide soft landing for CBT centers due to the hike in the price of diesel in the country. The European Union has donated an array of security hardware including 30 rigid hull, inflatable boats and forensic equipment to the economic community of West African states to tackle maritime crime and other security challenges in West Africa. In a statement today, the head of ECOWAS Regional Security Division, Abdulrahman Dieng, said maritime insecurity has long been one of the most persistent and intractable threats to economic prosperity in West Africa. Dieng further disclosed that the move will help security agencies in Nigeria and other countries in the ECOWAS community to combat crime and criminality. According to him, turning the tide against maritime insecurity is a collaborative effort that no single country or region can tackle alone. Away from that, the Ogun State government has announced plans to support trained and certified artisans and technicians to enable them procure equipment needed to enhance their trade. In a statement today, the special advisor to the governor on technical and vocational education and training, Joseph Odemuyiwa, said many trained and certified technicians and artisans are engaged in other trades due to lack of capital and basic tools. He affirmed that the state government will fight unemployment by linking trade artisans with financial institutions for various empowerment opportunities.
Even from that, you see that whoever is leaving our secondary school here will be a trained and certificated artisan. It is not just literacy and numeracy, it's going to be literacy, numeracy, plus technical and vocational. So with that, I believe we have a very bright future. We want to continue the maxim that what a man can do, that a woman can even do better. So, and we continue to go around and look at female artisans, female technicians, and put them on our TV news, TV news, as personality of the month, so that people will know that ladies, women are doing this. We have them as mechanics, we have them as electricians, we have them as bricklayers, we have them as panel-beaters, and so on and so forth. So that all that will be encouraged. And we project them to let the whole world know that these female technicians, artisans, and technologists, they are making it.
On today's edition of People's Forum, a cross-section of Nigerians have voted the proposed monthly payment of 20 billion naira to 2 million people from June 2022. In a chat with our correspondent Oluwadamilola Buluwaje, some concerned citizens called the proposed relief initiative a ploy to siphon money. Let's have their views.
With the way they used to do it, it will be politicized. Take for instance, if you are part and parcel of those people that will distribute it, believe me, sincerely, you consider your family member, friends, and your parents first. And before you know it, many people from your own side will get more than the generality. That's Nigerian for you and I. Or let me say African mentality. I don't think it will reach to the main progress of the poor.
They should stop this political bribery in advance. I think you get my point. They are the architect of Nigeria people's fate. So is that how to solve problem? Why can't they establish factories? Let people be working. If you have your job, what will you use 10,000 naira for? To serve those who are working, they can't collect their salary. Let them answer ASU and NASU, that's all. You don't want that cheap political bribery. It's a shame. It's political bribery. They want to be bribing people in advance against 2023. That is their logic. That's all.
But my question is, how do you determine the poorest of the poor in society where we don't have a working database? In society when there's no value for money? In society when the richers are the ones getting richer and the poorest are getting poor? So how do you determine that? Our problem in this country has always been every policy has been politicized. So come to think about it. Do we have an existing database that can recognize the poor? Because in every part of the world, we have first class, second class, and the third class. So how do we examine them? In America, they have the working database that exists that make them to know the second class and the third class. Differentiate them from the first class. The same thing. Let me say the rest of the Western world and some other part of the African country, but not in this country. It's just a messy situation where we find ourselves in this country, where economy is in a messy state at the moment that we could not revive it because there's no value for money. At the end of the day, can 10,000 naira feed one single person for a month in this country? How much are they selling a Congo of beans or a Congo of rice? How much are they selling meat? How much are they selling? These are the things that they need to look into.
The nature of a genuine party system is one based strong, value-driven ideologies which offer alternative visions, thus giving citizens real choice. As the 2023 general elections draw near, IBR's Taiwo Olaruwadi x-rays the ways of dissection and other matters arising.
The
nature of the genuine party system, that is, a system of government by political parties, is one based on average strong, value-driven parties which offer alternative visions and thus giving citizens real choice. Ahead of the 2023 general elections, the disloyalty and fluidity of party affiliations in Nigeria is said to be exposed as politicians shop around for a party that offers them the best chance of actualizing their ambitions. However, political parties in Nigeria have proven to be intellectually shallow, lack of ideology, and personalized. Speaking with IBR on the waves of defection as the general election draws near, a public affairs analyst, Ibr92.5FM, said defection in Nigeria politics from one party to another is a normal thing. According to him, people have the fundamental right to join any political party of their choice, adding that political politics is all about interest. Olawale noted that most of the political parties have the same ideology.
People must be able to exercise their fundamental human right from joining any political party or association they wish to join. So it is normal at this particular time because politics is about interest, and a lot of people with different interests. And if your interest cannot be protected in a particular party, you can go to any other one. When we have more than 30, 40 political parties, if any other person knows that his wish cannot be granted in PD or PPC, they can be able to go to another party and exercise their view.
Olawale urged the youth to challenge the system which is currently in existence to do something better.
The youth must be able to come formidable and challenge the case for. They must be able to challenge the system, the normal system, the system that has been existing, to prove themselves and come out and do something better instead of looking at probably somebody is going to leave the state for them in PDP or APC. That's the way it should be.
Part. A senior lecturer at the University of Ibadan, Dr. H.G. Olaniran, said to some extent it is not a bad thing if it is based on political ideology. He added that majority of the politicians lack political ideology due to personal interest.
To some extent, it's not so bad if it is based on ideology. In other words, if you are in a particular political party which does not share your ideas, which is not in line with your political views, you can move to another political party that shares similar ideas with you. But the way we do it in Nigeria, the way politicians do it in Nigeria, shows that majority of our politicians lack political ideology. There's no difference between APC and PDP, they are the same thing. So, and that is why we are in trouble we find ourselves today. So they move from one party to the other, so you can't hold them.
Olaniran reiterated that the youth are not ready and they need reorientation politically by thinking straight.
The current politicians we have in the country, I don't know if they are redeemable. And the saddest part of it is that the youth themselves, they don't know what they are doing. And the youth are not ready in Nigeria. The youth themselves have no ideology. It was in those days you see young men in university having socialist view, some having this view, but now those things are not there. So the youth themselves are not ready. Number one, we need to reorientate the youth politically.
Defections are not driven by ideological differences but self-interested calculations. Taiwo Olanrewaju, Impact Business Radio News.
Similarly, experts have called for concerted effort through the entrenchment of true democracy. Speaking with IBR's Ayodele Fakeye, they noted that Nigeria's democracy is fundamentally undemocratic due to the spate of insecurity. Ayodele Fakeye has details.
The country's democratic system over the years has continued to raise concerns to many Nigerians. This is as some say Nigerian democracy is in peril as the country continues to descend into lawlessness. Reacting, a professor of governance and public policy, Professor Remi Ayede, said the issue of insecurity in the country is a structural problem followed by the poor standard of living in the country.
What we are facing is a structural problem that has to do with the general conditions of life of Nigerians and their disposition towards government, their patriotism, or if you like, their perception of their acceptability of the way government is run. If you look at the various interviews that have been had, either with bandits or even Fulani headsmen, or even security forces, some of whom abandoned their posting or responsibility.
He added that the various forms of insecurity in the country is no doubt taking a toll on the country's democratic system.
It's a very complex challenge that we are facing, and it seems that democracy did not help address it in any fundamental ways. One, you would think that because we are under democratic rule, government would be very responsive, government will be sensitive to the plight and conditions of Nigeria, and as such, poverty will reduce, inequality will reduce, unemployment will reduce. But if you look at the statistics that we have, all of these indicate indices are worsening. And if things are worsening, it means that ordinary Nigerians are not feeling the positive impact of government in their lives.
Also speaking, an associate professor of international relations, Dr. Olubukola Adesina, said the true essence of governance has not been felt by the citizens.
If people are suffering, I don't see democracy in place. The most worrisome part is the fact that the government don't seem to be even attuned with what is going on. Because if the government is aware that things are this bad, I think the governors, the people in the House of Rep, they are supposed to be resigning in numbers by now because they are not providing security. People cannot sleep with two eyes shut. In fact, they cannot even sleep.
The experts likewise said there are indices showing that the country is a fragile state.
What we normally say in political science is to say that Nigeria is a fragile state. Fragile means that it has very deep challenges that makes it life uncomfortable for many of its citizens. And what we should try to do is to deal with those fragility so that we can come out of fragility into a strong state.
All the indices of a failed state, you can say that Nigeria is exhibiting it, because if there's no security, there's no facility. ASU has been on strike for more than 6 weeks. We have a lot of ritual killings in recent times. People have to survive anyhow. I think those are part of what, because if you are saying in a democracy, you expect that people should feel governance and they are not feeling it, then it's a failing state.
They however called for a concerted effort in entrenching true democracy.
Security is a very technical thing, and it requires not just intelligence capabilities, equipment capabilities. It also involves collaboration.
I would have said that the opportunity we'll have will be the 2023 election for people to vote in the right people. But from all indication, I don't know. I hope and pray that we'll be able to have even the 2023 election, because with the way things are happening in recent times, I hope we'll still have enough peace to have the 2023 election.
It is essential to state that a flawed system of governance impedes social and political development, economic growth, and peace. Ayodele Fakeye, Impact Business Radio News.
Motorists on the Ojo axis of Oyo-Ibadan Expressway were today left stranded when a truck carrying petrol fell off the road. IBR's news correspondent who was at the scene of the incident reports that men of the Federal Fire Service and security agents were on ground to prevent a fire outbreak.
Motorists on the Ojo axis of Oyo-Ibadan Expressway were left stranded when the truck carrying petrol fell off the road in the early hours of Monday. In a quick response to the incident, the Federal Fire Service security operatives were seen on ground to salvage the situation. Speaking with Impact News correspondent, the representative of the Federal Fire Service, Adeoye Olayiwola, said the service received a distress call around 4 a.m. He added that the whereabouts of the driver of the truck is yet unknown. Olayiwola gave the assurance that the service will ensure that the incidents do not result into a fire outbreak.
Actually, around 4 o'clock, we received a call that tanker fell along Ibadan Expressway. Then immediately we turned out to the scene. So the situation current now is that our men are on ground doing their job in order for the fuel not to catch fire. So we've blanketed the petrol with foam compound. Presently, the situation is under control. But as at this moment, we don't know the whereabouts of the driver.
Also speaking, an eyewitness, Musidu Adiremu, commended the fast deployment of men of the Federal Fire Service and security agents, adding that the situation is under control.
Ìgbà táwọn jẹ́ sáré lèmi ní kí n lọ ra sáà kí n lọ ra nǹkan tí màá jẹ ní sábàgì bíbá yìí bí mo ṣe bá nu tí ọkà sẹ̀ sókè mo ṣe wọlé nù nígbà mo jẹ́ sáré tán tí mo wọnú ilé làwọn èèyàn mi wá sọ fún mi pé láti dájí o pẹtrol ọmọ tó ń nalẹ̀ ní ọgbọ́n lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ yìí o kí kálukú náà ká dédì rẹ̀ so nígbà tá a sì débi náà bá àwọn ẹ̀ṣọ́ aláàbò a bá gbogbo wọn níbí yìí so wọ́n sì jẹ́ kí gbogbo ọmọ lọ ní ìrọwọ́rọsẹ̀ tí ó sì wàhálà kò sẹ́ni kankan tó kọlù kò sì kọlù kankan ó kàn balance ara rẹ̀ sínú kòtò yẹn ni.
Taiwo Ọlárẹ̀wájú, Impact Business Radio News.
Oluwayemisi Okweodo is coming up next with business news for today.
In business, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has directed deposit money banks to stop including mutilated notes as part of their deposits with the Apex Bank. The CBN warned that banks guilty of including composed currency notes in their deposit risk the payment of a penalty of 400% of the value of the banknote. The Apex Bank made this known through a circular signed by the CBN Director of Currency Operation Department, Ahmed Umar. In another news, the Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, had said the deployment of Treasury Revenue Director to federal government-owned enterprises is yielding results as the internal generated revenue, IGR, has improved. The Accountant General said the IGR has tremendously increased from over 532 billion naira in 2020 to 1.2 trillion naira in 2021. He made the statement at a retreat for Chief Executives and Treasury Directors of Revenue of the federal government-owned enterprises in Abuja. According to him, the deployment of the Treasury Revenue Directors to these enterprises became imperative due to the challenges prevalent with regard to revenue generation and remittance by the government-owned enterprises. That ends the business news for today. I am Oluwayemisi Okweodu.
It's over now to our editorial review for today.
The Punch newspaper editorial for today calls on Buhari to declare a state of emergency in Kaduna State due to the series of attacks in the state. It describes the state situation as an act of incompetent governance following the terrorist attack in the northern states and the ambush and killings of military troops. The paper says the attack is a confirmation of the fact that the country is in a state of war. The paper says that the attacks in Kaduna alone should have prompted the sackings and resignations of commanders, adding that no responsible leadership should tolerate carelessness or failure in national security matters. It concludes by urging President Muhammadu Buhari to declare a state of emergency in Kaduna and other besieged states and to invoke the constitutional provision for states of emergency as desperate situations require desperate legal actions. On its part, the Tribune newspaper editorial for today is focused on Buhari's $1 million gift to Afghanistan. It is of the opinion that Buhari's decision to donate the sum of $1 million to the Afghanistan and Humanitarian Trust Fund is a reckless and thoughtless act. According to the paper, Nigeria is hardly in a position to donate money while operating an economy that is dependent on borrowing. Also, the donated sum had not gone through the due process as Nigerians were only made aware of the donation through the Secretary General of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, Hussein Ibrahim Taha's commendation of the Nigerian government on its apparent generosity. Furthermore, the Taliban government in Afghanistan is known to be an ultra-conservative Islamist regime that has repeatedly violated the human rights of ordinary Afghans. It concludes by stating that the criticisms against the president when he was running for office in 2015 has been proven right over time due to his insensitive policies and decisions. That ends the editorial for today from some of our national dailies. I am Holiness Ako.
Isaiah Kiremi has more stories from the exciting world of sports.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to the sports segment. Nigerians under-17 women's head coach Bankole Olowokere has invited 25 players ahead of this month's under-17 women's World Cup third-round fixture against their Egyptian counterpart. The Flamingos had earlier trounced their counterpart from the Democratic Republic of Congo 8-0 on aggregate to reach the third round of the series. 2 goals from Okpeyemi Ajakaye and 1 each from Tuminino Adesina, Anastasia Latume and Taiwo Afolabi accounted for the Congolese when they visited Benin City on 19th March. The Flamingos will host the Egyptian at the Moshood Abiola National Stadium in Abuja on Sunday, April 17th, with the return leg in Cairo on Saturday, April 30th. In other news, Arsenal boss Mikel Arteta has praised the job Patrick Vieira has done at Crystal Palace ahead of their meeting this evening in the English Premier League.
Obvious is what he's done, what he's trying to do, where he's trying to take the team and the club, and they've done really well. I think him and the coaching staff has changed, especially the way that they played, and obviously that's very related to the appointments and the recruitment policy that they had.
Arteta also spoke about the difficulty at playing at Selhurst Park, but says the Gunners are ready for the London derby.
We know the difficulty of the match, we know the difficulty of playing at that ground, the importance of the match, and I will be prepared for that.
The Monday night clash is built for 8 p.m. at Selhurst Park. In other news, Atletico Madrid defender Jose Gimenez will miss the Champions League quarterfinal first leg against Manchester City tomorrow due to injury. Gimenez was forced off in the second half of Atletico's La Liga victory over Alaves on Saturday and has not travelled with the squad to Manchester. Gimenez's absence is a major blow for Atletico, who face Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium before the return leg at Estadio Wanda Metropolitano. And lastly in sports, Poland's Iga Swiatek was confirmed as the new Women's Tennis Association #1 in the rankings released today, replacing the retired Ashley Barty. The 20-year-old celebrated a new status in style yesterday, winning the Miami Open with a straight-set victory over 4-time Grand Slam champion Naomi Osaka. Swiatek's victory made her only the 4th women's player in history to win the Indian Wells and Miami tournament back-to-back. The former French Open champion already holds a substantial lead over second-ranked Barbara Krejcikova. Miami runners-up Osaka jumped up 42 places to move into 35th in the rankings. The Japanese star will be open to secure seedings for the remaining 3 majors of the year. That's all we have for you in the exciting world of sport. My name is Isaiah Akinremi.
On the foreign scene, the president of Sri Lanka, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, has urged all political parties to join the government in finding lasting solutions to the ongoing crisis in the country. The call is coming after hours after cabinet ministers resigned from their posts following protests over fuel shortage. The president noted that the current crisis rocking the nation is as a result of several economic factors and global development. It will be recalled that Sri Lanka's central bank governor Ajit Nivad also tendered his resignation following the protest over scarcity of fuel. In another development, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has accused government and businesses of lying about their effort to stem climate change. In a statement today, Guterres said the world must ditch coal, oil and gas and go all out to develop renewable energy without delay to avoid a climate disaster. He also warned that not enough is being done to reduce the carbon dioxide emissions from burning fossil fuels, which signs showed are driving the warming of the planet. It will be recalled that the United Nations Climate Change Conference held in Glasgow had pledged to halt deforestation, curb methane emissions, phase down coal-fired power and boost financial aid to developing countries.
South Sudan's political rivals have agreed to unify army command in a key development of the fragile peace agreement signed in 2018. The agreement was signed in Juba after mediation from neighboring Sudan. The country's mining minister, Martin Gama Abuja, said the implementation of the agreement is very important.
Most important is not only the signing, but the implementation of these articles. We must implement what we said. The people of South Sudan expect us to do that. The silence of the guns is most important to peace. We cannot continue to fight when we are talking peace in Juba. So as much as we talk about peace, the guns must go down from today.
The agreement provides for a division, 60% for the president camp and 40% for vice president marker of leadership positions in the army, police and national security forces. Sudan Minister of Defense Ibr92.5FM described the move as a good development.
For the national security of the Republic of South Sudan, which is an extension of consideration of Sudanese national security, this proposal was integrative and compatible, and thank God that it has been agreed between all the parties regarding the order of distribution of command's leadership. This proposal has raised the road or time for the matrix to implement what was agreed in this proposal.
Tensions between forces loyal to the president and former rebel leader Riek Machar had escalated recently, raising international fears of a return to full-scale conflict in the world's youngest nation. A fuel shortage in Kenya is leading Matatu operators to ground their vehicles. The shortage of fuel is causing a hike in prices, particularly in the capital Nairobi. Reports suggest that Matatu operators have had to wait for hours to fill their vehicles, with many petrol stations running out of petrol and diesel. The worst affected region is Western Kenya. According to experts, the shortage could take 3 weeks to stabilize.